Hey, welcome back, knife nerds and everyday carry people. It's the Big Canucker here, and today we're going to be having a look at actually a really nice little solid, well-built knife, well-built knife, the Birch Chubby Titanium. And you know what? If you're a small knife guy, this knife will definitely give you a chubby. Really well put together, solid, thick little beast is what this is. I got this knife on sale because it was discontinued, so I was looking for something to add to the collection. I wanted something a little bit unusual, something that was well built with fine materials, and this one seemed to fit the bill. You know what? I really like this little bugger here. It has done me no harm whatsoever. It's been a great little carry. But now let's do a little bit of a size comparison here. We've got, of course, the Lucky Toonie, and we will throw together beside it the Paramilitary 2, so you can see how much the Paramilitary 2 has on this bugger. And let's go with an even bigger knife. As you can see here, we've got the Mannix XL. So the Mannix XL is bigger yet, but you'd be very surprised at how well this particular knife fills your hand. All right, so that's our little bit of a size comparison here. We'll put that away, and we'll put this away here too as well. Oh, I love that Paramilitary 2. All right, now we're speaking about this Birch Chubby here. Let's go over a little bit of the specs here too as well. Overall length is 5.96 inches, so just a little under 6 inches when this thing is fully opened. And it's closed. You've got 3.66 inches or 93 millimeters, so it is, you know, about as wide as my palm here too. Blade thickness. Now here is where we start to look at the size of this knife. 4.5 millimeters blade thickness. This is a solid knife, and as you can see here too as well, the handle itself is, I'm going to say it's a little over half an inch. I'm going to say probably 5/8, and it does fit the hand really well. Now, like I said, I've got really big hands, and this will fill my entire hand here and have the blade out. Very comfortable. I mean, you've got a really nice, there is no 50/50 choil on here, but you do have a nice grip to it. When you put it in the back here, it gives you kind of a 3 and a little bit with a really nice thumb ramp. Very comfortable here to do some cutting. But you know, when I use this knife, I don't often cut with my thumb like that. I'm actually cutting like this. You know, I'm doing some boxes with that tip down, and that really big belly of a knife cuts into cardboard and cuts them open like there's no business. You know, so this is not the knife that you're going to use to break down the cardboard box. This will be the knife that you'll use to get into the cardboard box, or if you're going to be doing some, you know, some really nice draw cuts with that, that's where this blade really shines. Now the blade length is 2.3 inches, and with this really big belly, you get 2.28 inches in cutting length. So they use just about all the blade to cut. So now your handles are a titanium. It's got some 3 really nice carbon fiber portholes, and really top of the line materials, and very well put together. You've got a G10 backspacer here, back here, so it's a nice little touch, and it just helps you when you've got your hand there and you're kind of pressed into your palm. It gives you that a little bit more comfort when you're actually having to do some of that kind of hard cutting too as well. You've got a Reeves integral lock or a frame lock with no steel insert, but I have noticed no lock stick with this whatsoever. You know, it locks, you've got about a 30% lockup, so there is a lot of room for this to grow with this knife before you have to worry about any sort of, play with it whatsoever. And the other thing is it's extremely smooth. You know, for such a small little knife, you can Spidey flick it, you can, you know, open it with your thumb with a flick, or, you know, you can open it with just a straight, nice simple thumb movement, and it is a very smooth opening and deployment too as well. The steel is a CPM S30V, which was the steel that was first introduced as a cutlery specific steel. It's got great edge retention, it's got great stainlessness, and it's also got great toughness too as well. So it does, a lot of things in the knife business extremely well. Now this is kind of got a little bit of a high hollow ground with a false swedge here on the top. It's not sharpened swedge, so it does have a false edge on it, I suppose. And so there's no worry about cutting yourself, but it does give you a nice fine piercing tip with this thickness in the middle that I think, belies actually how tough this tip and this knife and this edge, this blade will be. I mean, you certainly don't want to pry with a knife blade. That's not what they're there for, but in a pinch, if you had to, I think this knife could really handle a lot of it. 4.1 ounce is the weight on this, so she's a little bit on the chunky side. She's a little bit of a chunky monkey. But and your clip position here is tip up, right hand only. There is no left hand or tip down carry with that. So if you are one of our left-handed knife nerds, I do apologize. You will not have this clip on the other side. It only is a right hand carry whatsoever. But you know what, if you need a little small knife that's well put together, I'm sure that you can overlook that. Of course, you've got the nice little Michael Birch logo here. It's not ostentatious. It's nice, nicely put away. And then you've got here the Taiwan here along the bottom with your Spyderco CPM S30V and your little Spyderco logo. So it is a really well put together, great fit and finish, great materials. The centering is perfect on this. It came perfect from the factory. So this is definitely a high-end knife in a small package. All right, so now let's also have a look at your pros and cons. So solid, well built with great materials. I think it's actually a really good looking knife too as well with these carbon fiber inserts. The unusual styling on this knife, I'm sure a lot of people they want to not have your everyday titanium, your gray titanium with your flat ground leaf style blade and your spider hole and yada yada. This is something that's out of the ordinary, but not so out of the ordinary that you're scratching your head figuring out why they did it. I think it's got really good ergos too as well. It fills the hand very well. Extremely smooth. Now, this one thing here about this is you've got a really polarizing clip, and we'll go talk about that on the con side too as well, but it does go in and out of the pocket really well. This is not something that rips up or tears up your pocket like some of the other clips that are out there and some of the handle materials. So it's very smooth in and out of the pocket, so you would not be afraid to have this go in and out of a pair of dress pants too as well. Now it cuts really well with a draw cut because you have a surprising amount of blade, and it came very sharp. This particular one here I actually sharpened up on my KME, so it is very sharp, and it does do a tremendous job doing those draw cuts. Now let's have a look at some cons. I wish Spyderco would do this sharpening choil. This particular one here, I actually did add a little tiny mini choil on there. Doesn't take very long, doesn't take up a lot of cutting surface, and it does do the job with that little tiny choil that I put in. The hollow grind here is a little bit on the thick side, so if you're cutting through an apple, you're going to crack your apple rather than slice it up. So this is not the knife to go through the cardboard because it does bind with the 4.5 mil blade, but it is the knife to do the draw cut and open up the cardboard box. Now here, the clip is, I would say it's a con because it's extremely polarizing clip. It does not look like any other clip that's out there that Spyderco makes. It is, I do believe, a Michael Birch design that that he felt went with a knife. The one thing I can say about this though is it is very smooth in and out of the pocket, but if you're looking for, kind of your aftermarket clip that'll go with all the Spydercos, this is not the one to have it. And the other thing that's a con is it is only right-hand tip up carry. You don't have any option on this side for any left-handed carry guys or gals at all. The other con here on that I think is this blade needs to be chamfered a little bit in some of the areas here. Now this Spidey hole here, I don't know what they cut this out with, but it is, you know, it is very, very sharp. And I love the idea of the Spidey hole. I think it's the best way, or one of the best ways, to open up a knife. But I just wish that this one had a little bit of finish work on the inside, and just to take that edge off, because it is quite a sharp edge, as well as on the back here too. It's, no, they say it's a really crisp lines, which I think is great. So, but I think it feels a lot nicer if these edges are just ever so slightly rounded off. It just feels better in the hand. Like if you have a Spyderco Southern, the way that edge is, the way that blade is built, it goes through, I do believe, kind of a tumble, and it knocks off all the sharpness of all the edges, and it feels wonderful in hand. And I think this knife could stand to have that done to it a little bit too as well. Also, I think this is a little bit on the heavy side for how big it is. You know, being kind of a sub 4-inch knife with a sub 3-inch blade at 4.1 ounces. It is thick slabs of titanium, so that's probably where, in a 4.5 mil blade, so that's probably where the weight comes in. But it's a little on the heavy side, so perhaps they could have maybe milled it a little bit. But I mean, some people like to have that weight, but I think it goes in the pocket really nice, and you do know that it's there with the 4.1 ounce weight of it. And the other thing is, this thing brand new is very, very expensive. Now, the MSRP on this from Spyderco is $359 American. So then you put that in Canadian, that's, that's a plus $400 knife, brand new, when it was first out. Now, I know that's the MSRP. The street price is considerably lower. I think this was around a $300 Canadian knife when it was new. I got it for substantially less because it was discontinued. So if you happen to see this and you can get a wicked deal on it, it's something I would probably pull the trigger on. Now, would I recommend this? You know what? I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10 Canucker score, which puts it kind of on the borderline. If you're a knife collector and you like interesting, well-built knives that you can throw in your pocket, this is something that I would say definitely pick up. But if you're an EDC guy and you've got 1 or 2 knives, and you want to use this knife as kind of to do everyday, carry, and to do a lot of cutting and a lot of chores, there's probably better things out there for you than this Birch. So that's my kind of take on this wonderful, wonderful, well-built knife. So I want to say thanks for stopping by. If you like what you heard, please, please give me a thumbs up, and as well as subscribe. And remember, please, to keep your stick on the ice, the shiny side up, and the pointy end away from your bits.